we are going to, or I am going to demonstrate with the help of Christian running the camera, regulating let off on a vertical piano using the Bill Spurlock method. So I'm looking for the tool that has an 1/8 inch at one end, so I can use this 1/8 inch to set let off. So I'm going to place it at the center, and you can see that this does not even come close. So let off is very far from the string. I'm going to check the other end. Let off is also very far from the string. Do one in the middle. It's not as bad, but it's still further than an 1/8 inch from the string. So I'm going to use this gauge, and with this gauge I'm going to set let off on the end keys. So with that, here's my favorite let off tool. It's got 4 places to engage the let off button. I'm going to screw this. The angle on this particular piano is a little challenging. Recheck. Better, but not there. Raise it. Better. Raise. One more time. And now I went too far, that I have to really push, that the hammer is blocking against this gauge. So now I'm going to lower slightly. And I'm going to call this good. The slightest amount of pressure, and the hammer moves away from the gauge. Now I'm going to go to the other end and do the same thing. My tool's in my way. Let's say I'm just there. Then I'm now going to take this board and put it in a position between the hammer shanks and the rest rail, so that when I play the notes, that I set the samples on, that I just get the tiniest amount of movement of the hammer shank against this board. And that movement is exactly the point of let off, because right now the jack goes forward, and right there it's engaging the hammer butt to make this tiny little tick. and tiny little motion. So I've got this end set. And now I have this end set. Can you see the tiny little motion?
Yeah.
Okay. Then, with those two set, and now all of the shanks are in the position where the hammers need to be for let off, I can just comfortably sit on the bench. I'm having no motion at all, which means that the jack tender is hitting the let off button before the jack can hit the butt. So I'm going to just take my tool, turn it in an upward position, check, no motion yet, none yet. It's getting very close. And now I've got motion, and I'm going to try and do a little bit of go and no go. So I've got motion, so now I'm going to see if I lower it down just a little bit because I want the least motion possible. I still have motion, but it's less than before. And you go to the next. But this method, as long as you're really consistent about the ticking of the hammer shank against that board, if that's really consistent, you will get a very consistent let off. And I'm so close. And do it in a position of relative comfort. Unlike if you were using there I have it. And now I'm going to see if I lower it just a little bit. I still have motion, but it's less, and so I like that better. I'm going to go ahead and take this out. And on these three, you're going to have a very consistent let off. If you're doing it in the field, you might have to do some back checking adjustment, but really you don't start with let off. Let off comes further in the regulation series, and I'm just doing it out of series to show you how I use this board to set let off in bulk. And when you get into the groove of it, it goes quite quickly and quite accurately. And that's the Bill Spurlock let off method.